Yo, what's going on? Welcome back to the Sit Down Sports Edition. I think you already know who this is. Andrew, looking real dapper, looking fresh today. I'm looking like a purebred scrub out here. That's all right, though. And you know what day it is. It's Tuesday. If we're here, that means it's a Tuesday or Thursday. Yeah. But right now it's Tuesday. And we're going to go over the week. I'm going to call this week the turnover week. There were so many turnovers this week collectively. I wish I was able to have a little more time and actually look at the total amount of turnovers because it was ridiculous. Yeah. It was nuts. But let's dive right in. You want to start Cardinals Patriots? Does it have it at the top?
Yeah, let's start there.
Okay. Cardinals 17, Patriots 20. We both got this wrong. We both picked the Cardinals, I think for obvious reasons.
Right.
And Patriots pulled it out. A game-winning field goal on a controversial late hit or roughing the what was it? 15-yard penalty for that Isaiah Simmons hit on Cam Newton on the sideline there. Yep. What did you think of that call? I thought that was a good call. That was helmet to helmet in my opinion.
Yeah, you have to be cognizant of how you're hitting somebody in the NFL, right? So I'm a varsity football official down here in South Florida. So as an official, you tell kids all the time, if you keep your head up and you wrap when you tackle, your helmet can hit pretty much anywhere. Sure. It doesn't matter because you're not using your head as a weapon. Mm-hmm. The second you're using your head as an agent to make the tackle, that's when you put yourself in serious situations, not only to get the other person hurt, but to get yourself hurt. Right. So the NFL is really trying to protect both players in this instance. So if it is a helmet-to-helmet contact on the sideline, especially with a guy like a quarterback, and I know that there's no really rule written in there when a quarterback's running the ball, but it's taken into account. You need to be very wary of how you're hitting people.
And I think Cam Newton in the past, especially when he played Denver at the start of the season, after that Super Bowl, when they lost, how he got blasted in the head like 7 times that game, and there was a lot of no calls. Yep. I think since that moment, I think the NFL has been a little more cognizant of keeping an eye on that with him. Sure. Because he's so big. Sure. He's 250, 6'6". The guy's a monster, and he's a quarterback. So it's hard because I guess you have to officiate him a little bit differently, but at the same time, I thought that was a good call personally.
What some people don't understand about the rules in the NFL is that, and a lot of times, is that they hear the term defenseless receiver and defenseless this and helmet-to-helmet this, and you only need one or the other. You don't need both. Sure. So if it's a receiver and he's defenseless and he gets slammed with the shoulder to the helmet, that's still a flag because it's an illegal hit on a defenseless receiver. Right. If you hit somebody helmet to helmet, but they're not technically a defenseless player, it's still a penalty. You can't hit people helmet to helmet. It's not legal. So people will say, oh, it was wussy, blah, blah, blah. What happened to football, this, that, and the other thing. They're trying to keep people safe. Right. And I have no problem with them doing that, especially when they make it very clear what's legal and what's not. Sure. Players need to catch on.
I think it's tough though, being a defensive player. At least in high school. I can only speak on how I would make tackles. I would put my face mask into somebody's face mask as hard as I could.
Face mask.
Right. I mean, face mask or helmet, it didn't matter. I was putting my head into somebody else's head as hard as because I know if I saw stars, they would see stars. Right. But that was just a different mentality, right? Sure. And it's tricky because as a defensive player, it's hard, right? Because I'm aiming for your chest. Now you duck down to help lower your center of gravity. Yes. They always talk about the lower player wins. Right. And you duck down. Now it's a helmet-to-helmet hit, but I was aiming for your chest. Right. So you're in trouble. So you run a very fine line between. I get what you're saying. And I agree with it too. I don't think helmet-to-helmet contact should be a thing. Sure. And it's tricky though, right? Because as a defensive player, it's very hard. Yeah. Because you could do everything right and still hit him in the head.
In that instance, the instance that you just gave, there are rules against running backs lowering their head,
which they're getting a lot better at.
Which they are getting better at.
And they call the offensive penalty for that as well.
Exactly. Yep. So as a defender, you really just need to keep your head up and keep your arms out and wrap up. That's what we teach kids in high school now. Especially sometimes we go to high schools to ask for some officiating, like advice, what we're looking for, like all that kind of stuff. We say keep your head up and wrap up. If you do both of those things, you will never get called for that kind of penalty.
Yeah. Hey, Nick Folk, bang that thing through. And I'll tell you what, I think the one thing that really surprised me is I was I was surprised by the lack of effectiveness of Kyler Murray. You know, if I am correct, he didn't rush for many yards.
No, he didn't do much of anything.
And it felt as though the offensive game plan for Kyler Murray really sort of limited him in terms of what he was doing.
Yep.
He ran for 31 yards on 5 attempts, and he only threw for 170 yards and an interception.
Sure.
And that Patriots defense is not that good.
No, it's not. But I think where you get into kind of like the non-statistic variables is that Bill Belichick is still
he's a wizard.
Hall of Fame head coach. He's still one of the best head coaches of all time, if not the best head coach of all time. So against young, mobile quarterbacks, he's going to have a game plan, especially with guys like Kyler Murray who can tend to be a tiny bit one-dimensional, where they're either running the ball or they're slinging it around the field. Like, their running game isn't that great outside of Kyler Murray.
Yep.
They have some good receivers, Christian Kirk, DeAndre Hopkins, obviously Larry Fitzgerald, all that kind of stuff. But when you have a solid game plan and your players are disciplined, you don't need crazy good talent.
Right.
And for some reason with the Patriots this season, it's been very dependent on which Patriots defense is going to show up today.
Yeah.
And this week it was a very sound, disciplined Patriots defense that only gave up 17 points to, I don't think any more, but an MVP candidate.
Yeah, and I'll just let this sink in. Cam Newton, 9 for 18 passing, 84 yards and 2 interceptions, and they still won.
Yeah.
They had total yards for the game, 194 yards.
This is a defensive game for sure.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
That the Patriots can win with 194 yards of total offense. Tyreek Hill had 202 receiving yards in the first quarter.
Right.
And they won a game like that. That's nuts.
And that's when
crazy.
And that's when you look at things like penalties.
Yep.
In a game like this, 15 yards
is big.
That's big.
Huge.
That's real. Regardless of if it's on the last play of the game, 15 yards is a huge, huge deal. And in a game like this, Cardinals just got outcoached.
I would agree.
So,
I would agree.
The Patriots really pulled it out. Good on Nick Folk, hitting a 50-yarder.
Yeah.
Not an easy kick to make,
Bang that thing home, too.
At the end of a very tight game with a playoff team.
Let's go to Thanksgiving Day.
Let's hop over to Saints-Broncos real quick.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay.
We'll do Saints-Broncos. This one, really not much to talk about. Broncos they did everything they could.
Now, let me ask you this, because I don't even think we need to talk too much about the game.
Shoot.
How do you feel about the Broncos not getting their game postponed when COVID issues happened, right? And all 4 quarterbacks that were available were in COVID protocol and they couldn't play. But you have a team like Pittsburgh in the Ravens that get their game postponed 3 times already. So how does that make you feel as a Broncos fan?
So if I were to let my Broncos fan come out, I would say
I'll be pissed.
I'm really mad.
Yeah.
You move heaven and earth for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens so that they can possibly play a game with the Steelers at some point. And you'll even move it to Wednesday, which has never happened before.
At 3:40 Eastern
3:40,
time.
right.
That's when they play. 3:40 Eastern time.
The reason it's 3:40, Christmas tree lighting.
Yep.
later in the day. You'll move heaven and earth for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens, but when it's the Broncos, you won't move the game. Now, here's where my logic comes in. It's not the same instance.
It's not.
The Broncos had one position group where one player got COVID, and everyone was exposed because they were stupid. Didn't do the
right,
thing.
and that's the thing, right? They didn't do the protocol.
Correct. The Ravens essentially had an outbreak where the Broncos could still play their game with no risk to either team, really, because there was only one COVID case. They moved the guy, and the 3 other players, who just so happened to be our 3 other quarterbacks,
Of course.
got pulled away. So I get it, because the people think that the reason for them moving the game is because they wanted to have a game that's competitive with the Ravens, but that's not what happened. It's because of safety.
Right. And that's it, health.
Ravens have an outbreak, Broncos do not.
Right. Broncos made a dumb mistake, the Ravens had an outbreak, right? In
Correct.
different circumstances,
Correct.
right?
And the NFL's investigating both teams
Definitely.
to figure
As
out
they
if they're
should.
not doing the right things.
As they should.
So am I upset that we basically got given a game that hasn't happened since 1965, where a non-quarterback started the game as a quarterback? Yeah, sure, I'm upset. But were we going to beat the Saints anyway? Probably
Now, would you
not.
have rather forfeited the game?
Um,
I would have if I was a Broncos fan.
It depends. I don't know what the situation is with the Broncos and the owners and how they kind of have their deals set up.
They had no fans in the stands, right?
Right, so, correct. But then you get into, okay, well, if the Broncos decide they're going to forfeit the game, that's advertising revenue the network can't make and the league can't make. Do they have things set up in order to fine the team if they decide to forfeit outside of just giving up a win?
Sure.
Because at the end of the day, you're costing the league money.
Yeah.
So you could forfeit, but you're costing the league money.
At what cost?
Right. Do you have to take a fine in that place?
Yep.
So I'm sure they weighed all these options of a protest and all these things like that. Players could have done it, but then they would have gotten fined and also not paid. So it really was just a lose-lose for everybody. I think the NFL is going to learn a lot from this and say, okay, maybe next time let's open up some protocols so that a team could possibly get a quarterback to play. The Broncos talked about trying to get one of their offensive coaches to play. People made jokes, hey, call Tim Tebow, call Colin Kaepernick, call Peyton Manning, like try and get these guys. I mean, honestly, it probably would have went better than it did this past week. But
probably, unless he got hit one time and that was the end of his life.
Oh yeah,
Which he would.
They would have had to put him in bubble wrap.
Oh yeah.
Call Eli Manning, call Jay Cutler, it was a running joke on Twitter, but outside of that, Broncos defense played about as well as they could have.
Yeah.
The Saints just got great field position all game long because we couldn't move the ball. Literally,
2 interceptions.
I think we got like 3 first
and a fumble. You know, it's gonna happen.
Right, it's gonna happen. Kendall Hinton did absolutely the best he could.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. This dude, I saw something on Instagram. The dude was selling insurance last month.
Yeah.
He had not taken a single snap as a quarterback before that game. He was on the practice squad as a wide receiver. He hadn't gotten tackled in 2 years.
Last time he played quarterback was in college.
And that was his first. That was his first NFL start. Was that quarterback with no snaps pregame? Yeah. Not one. Right. That was pretty impressive. Listen, 1 for 9, 13 yards and 2 interceptions. That's better than I would have done.
Sure.
I'll just say that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's tough to make a game plan for a guy like that.
Of course, you can't.
What do you do?
Right.
And at first, when they started just straight snapping it to Philip Lindsay and they were running the ball, they got a few first downs. I was like, oh boy, here we go, and that was pretty much that was the best. That was the best of the entire.
You can only do that so long.
Right, exactly. Cam Jordan, he's not gonna let you stuff like that.
And there's too much speed in the NFL now.
Right.
That the Wildcat worked and there wasn't speed like there is now.
But I'll tell you this: Broncos without a quarterback had less interceptions and got blown out by less points than the Bucs did with Tom Brady.
And all their weapons.
Yeah.
That's it. It's alarming.
What do you say?
That's alarming. No, you can't say anything. You cannot say anything.
I mean, any given, you could play that game again and it would be 50-0.
Of course.
You just never know.
Yep.
Let's hop over to Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Some good games, huh?
Some real good games. Texans, Lions. We both picked. I picked the Lions.
I picked the Texans. Yep.
I picked the Lions because I thought that maybe they would, come out of this rut that they got in the previous week, but they just seemed like they kind of fell a little deeper.
Yeah, I think they lost their identity.
Yeah, I mean, their head coach got fired 2 days after. So.
R.I.P. Matt Patricia.
R.I.P. Matt Patricia. So Deshaun Watson just showed, hey, this is why you're paying me all this money.
I told you. That's why I kept picking the Texans early in the season, because Deshaun Watson is that dude, bro. And that's what I was saying. You're starting to see a formula now with Houston. Let Deshaun Watson go. Just let him do what he does. Get you 318 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Money.
On 17 for 25.
Absolutely.
You can live with that. But you got to let him go. Stop trying to be so scripted. Let him make stuff happen. Let him create plays.
Absolutely.
When you try to put him in a box, he becomes a boxy quarterback. That's not how he was in the start. That's not who he is now.
Yep.
You got to let him go. Let him do his thing. And you'll be okay.
Yeah.
And you saw that. He was making some nice deep balls to Fuller. Hit some really nice passes to Cooks out there. I mean, he was doing what he needed to do.
It's nice when your receivers were open a heck of a lot, too.
Oh,
that
of course.
Defense being absolutely atrocious. Yep. This is crazy because, the Lions started off a little hotter earlier in the season.
Yeah.
The Texans started way, way down. Basically, both teams cleared house.
And you're seeing that script kind of flip now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So now the Texans are kind of coming up, Lions falling back. I'm interested to see where the Texans go.
Neither team's a playoff team.
No, not at all. But in the sense of how they're going to play the rest of the season.
I mean, and the cool thing about this is that the Houston Texans have an opportunity to build on something here. if they can keep this trend going, continue to build momentum into the end of the season, you can set yourself up really great for the 2021 season. Don't squander that opportunity because a lot of teams do.
Yep.
Like the Lions, they really kind of screwed themselves, for lack of better terminology, because they had some momentum and they lost it.
Yep.
Completely lost it, and now they're going to have to start from square zero. Not even 1, 0. And that's tough.
Yeah.
Especially in the NFL where every team is getting better. You should be getting better every week. For a team to regress that significantly, that's tough.
Yep.
That's tough.
Shout out to J.J. Watt for getting a pick 6 on Thanksgiving.
That was nice.
Take it home.
It was good to see.
Yeah.
Good to see him kind of come back into prominence. He's been quiet for a while. He's been so injury prone. So it was good to see that.
Yeah.
It was cool.
It was real cool.
He was trucking too. He's like, I need this.
I'm getting this. No one's stopping me.
I need this.
Let's hop over to the second and last game on Thanksgiving. The football team and the Cowboys.
I'll tell you what.
Is that the last time you're ever picking the Cowboys?
I wish you talked some more sense into me,
I
Dallas.
tried.
I wish you talked some more sense into me because the Cowboys, oh my goodness gracious,
They played about how you expect.
that offense is just bad, man.
It's bad.
But I'll tell you what though, I don't think it was anything the Cowboys did wrong. They did a lot wrong.
Sure.
But I think it was more of what the Washington football team's defense did right. My goodness.
They're good.
They are legit.
Yep.
They're top 5 in the league in total defense. They're top 3 in the league in sacks. They're top 5 in passes broken up in the secondary. That defense is legit.
And now with the Eagles sliding, and with the starting quarterback for the Giants out, does the football team now take that division?
That defense is legit. I completely underestimate. That defense is nasty. And I'll tell you what, one quick thing, we kind of talked about this on Among Us a little while back.
Oh, yeah.
But Alex Smith, watch out.
Yeah.
He's starting to kind of get his legs back under him
Yeah.
again, figuratively and literally. And he's not making mistakes. And if you don't make mistakes with a defense that's that good, you got a chance.
And as you say that, I think Alex Smith back in the playoffs with a really good defense, a really good running back,
NFC
and some
Championship
good
game?
receivers. Maybe not NFC Championship game. I don't want to go that far. But
No, I'm just saying when he had
he
went to the
and
NFC
that's all the
Championship.
exact same stuff.
Right.
Right. He had
Yes.
Frank Gore running back. He had some really good receivers.
And he had a stud defense.
Yeah, stud defense.
Yeah.
Right. It's looking very similar to that kind of formula.
Right.
If they do end up winning that division, which at this point I'm kind of expecting them to.
Good. It depends on how long Danny Dimes is out for.
Sure.
That's the catalyst there.
He will be out at least this next week. I'm pretty sure.
If he's out more than 2 games, they're in trouble.
Does the football team win a wild card game at home? Depends on who they have.
If that defense can play like that, you got a shot.
If they go against a team like the Rams, who can be kind of wishy-washy, and we'll talk about that later. If it comes against a team like the Bucks, who can tend to fall flat sometimes.
Especially with that pressure on the front 4.
Yeah, and
watch out.
I mean, there are some of these teams in the NFC that really just they're kind of here some days, and they're kind of the Cardinals.
Yeah.
These are all teams that could definitely lose to the football team later on down the line if it comes to the wild card.
Very interesting.
Watch out.
I'm with you.
All right, let's hop over to Dolphins, Jets. Really not much to say here. Ryan Fitzpatrick ended up starting because Tua was hurt.
Fitzmagic did what he was supposed to do.
Obviously did what he was supposed to do.
This game was kind of alarming though. The Dolphins sort of played like crap, to be honest with you. They let the Jets hang around way too long. Which my only question is this: do they play up to competition and then play down also, or do they stay at a consistent level? Because if you're going to contrast, you look at the Rams. They played up to the competition and they trounced them.
Sure.
They played down to the Jets and they only beat them by 17. And I say
which
only,
I mean for the Jets.
And I say only just because it's the Jets.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? And they usually get 40 hung on them almost every game. So.
And I'll say, I think this team was kind of rolling with Tua, and then Fitzpatrick came back, and obviously he did what he was supposed to, but they should have really put up more points. But I think now when people play the Jets, they're kind of just saying, all right, keep them out of the end zone. The defense is doing well. Let's just play conservative, run the ball. And they're not going to do anything, so let's just not do anything stupid.
Watch out for the Jets. They're just bad enough to actually win a game by mistake.
They might.
Honestly, they're just bad enough to accidentally win a football game. Because every game you play against the Jets, it kind of feels like a trap game. Like, are you going to blow this one? Are you not? And for a little while there, I really thought the Dolphins might actually blow that game.
Won't catch me picking the Jets anytime
No, me either. I'm just saying, though. It's interesting.
Let's hop over to Panthers Vikings. This was exciting.
Turnover City.
It was crazy.
Dude.
Crazy. Let's pull up that guy's name who scored 2 straight defensive touchdowns for the Panthers on 2 straight plays. I believe his name, Jeremy Chin. 2 straight fumble recoveries returned for 2 straight touchdowns on 2 straight offensive snaps.
Easy, big fella.
I'm excited. It was the first time in NFL history this ever happened.
Yep.
And the Panthers still lost.
Yeah. It's, that's my thing, right? It's Minnesota had 3 fumbles and they still somehow won.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 of them got returned for touchdowns.
Yep.
My thing is this: you can't do that.
No.
You cannot do that.
Very rarely will you see a stat line for Dalvin Cook like 18 attempts for 61 yards.
He hurt his ankle too.
And he hurt his ankle. Ended up coming back and played through the rest of the game, and he should be fine. But this team does not usually win games when Dalvin Cook doesn't play well.
Yep.
Because then Kirk Cousins has to pass the ball a lot. But Kirk Cousins ended up having a really good game, actually.
Tore it up.
34 for 45, 307 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Here's the big one: no picks.
Yep.
That's money for Kirk Cousins. If he can play like that, he's doing really well.
Hey, Justin Jefferson is a stud, by the way. He's good.
Won me a fantasy week.
He's good. Yeah, I like him a lot. I'm curious to see his progression.
Absolutely.
So far, I like what I see out of him. He's good.
Yeah. Kirk Cousins distributed the ball pretty well.
Yeah.
4 receivers with 7 receptions.
Yep.
Olabisi Johnson, I think. Justin Jefferson, Kyle Rudolph, and Chad Beebe, all 7 receptions, all over 60 yards receiving.
Yep, that's big.
That should be Kirk Cousins' formula. When he has to pass the ball, you got to distribute
it around.
All that kind of stuff. This game ended up being really, really tight. Minnesota put up 18 points in the 4th quarter.
That big.
Is huge.
That's big.
After only scoring 10 in the previous lot.
And I think if you're Carolina, you got to ask yourself, how did we have that many opportunities and still lose? Mm-hmm. What did we do wrong? And I think you got to look at that 4th quarter. You got to look at that 4th quarter. What was the defense doing? Mm-hmm. Why was the offense so stagnant? What did we do wrong? I don't know exactly, but they did something. Something was off there, because you shouldn't have 14 points in defensive points and lose.
Right.
You should not have that.
Yeah, Kirk Cousins. I'm sorry, not Kirk Cousins. Teddy Bridgewater and the Carolina Panthers are now 4-8. They were looking promising earlier in the season. Now they're all but out of the playoff hunt.
More or less.
But Minnesota's on the rise. They only lost last week, but I believe they won 3 of their last 4. They're really coming forward and really starting to play like the Minnesota Vikings that they should have been playing like earlier in the season. If Dalvin Cook can stay healthy and keep running the ball well, this team might sneak into the playoffs.
I need consistency, though.
Yes,
I agree. That loss against the Cowboys really made me have questions. Because the Cowboys stink. Mm-hmm. Let's just call a spade a spade. So for them to lose to the Cowboys, you got to win the games you're supposed to win in the NFL.
Absolutely.
You don't get many freebies. When you get them, you got to win the game. Mm-hmm. You have to win the game.
Absolutely.
So we'll see what they do the rest of the season. They got to win the games they're supposed to win, and got a chance.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're right on the cusp right now.
Yep.
They're right on the cusp, but let's see if they can keep it close. That's the thing. Keep it close, and you might be able to scrape it in there.
Absolutely.
And then with a run game like that, you got a chance to win some games in the playoffs, because that's a recipe.
Absolutely.
You look at the teams that have made it far in the playoffs, teams that can run the ball with authority usually go pretty far.
Cold weather, things like that. Keep the ball on the ground. If you can do it well,
TOP.
You will take over most teams.
The playoffs are TOP games. Yep. Time of possession. If you can control the time of possession battle, you got a good shot. Mm-hmm. You have a good shot. Obviously, you need to put something on the board at the end of each possession, whether it be a field goal or a touchdown.
Right, but chances are, if you have the ball for that long,
you're
down the field.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So I'm curious. Let's see what happens with them.
Let's hop over to Browns, Jaguars. This was too close.
And this is the epitome of the Browns.
Yeah.
To me.
Sure.
Another trap game. The Jaguars are a trap game.
Yep. You
can't lose to this team. And I'll be honest with you, I thought the Browns were in trouble.
Yeah.
I thought they were going to lose this game.
Defense didn't play very well.
And we both picked the Browns.
Yep.
And let's see.
Defense didn't play well. They allowed 140 yards rushing.
Yep.
1 touchdown on the ground, 3 touchdowns through the air. Like, a team like the Jaguars, who started Mike Glennon. Huh?
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be giving up 25 points to a team like this. And you got to punch the ball in the end zone a little more. You have so many yards on the ground. You have 207 yards on the ground. Baker did fine. He had 19 for 29. So, like, there really wasn't anything that they did super wrong. But it's just, your defense kept it too close.
Yep. I mean, they beat him in every single category.
Right.
They beat him in total yards, pass yards, rush yards, yards per play. They beat him in third down conversion percentage, time of possession.
But points, they were only 2 away.
And that's why I'm concerned. Because how do you win the statistic battle in every category and still have it be a 2-point game? That's a bit confusing. And this is what I was talking about when it comes to the Browns. They're too inconsistent for me. Like, I can't get on a ship or I'm going to get seasick every time I jump on board. You know, and it's up and down every single week. It's like, which Baker is it going to be? Which defense is it going to be?
Yeah.
Are we going to get a rush attack? Actually, that's a lot. They always get a rush attack.
Always. Always over 100 yards.
What are we going to get from Baker?
Yep.
What are we going to get from that defense? And those are 2 concerning questions they have to ask every single week.
Yep.
And especially, like you said, against a team like the Jaguars, who don't even have a quarterback that's relevant. Let's just be real. Just be real.
The big stat for the Browns, which I think really exemplifies why this game was so close, no sacks.
Yep.
That's a problem. When you have a guy like Myles Garrett, you have a front 7 that can move pretty quickly, a bunch of agile young guys out there, against a team like the Jaguars, you need to make some sort of pass rush. And we'll talk about the importance of pass rush later. But that's a problem. When you have none of those, you got no picks, there's something wrong. You didn't force a single turnover, you didn't get a single sack. You need to find a way to make something momentous happen.
Yep, you gotta get home. And that's the thing. I think that might be another concern too if you're the Cleveland Browns, right? Because I think that Browns offense is opportunistic in the sense it depends on the defense to provide them with opportunities. And if the defense can't provide them with opportunities, I don't think that offense is good enough to make them on their own.
No.
You see, when the defense plays well, that offense usually follows right along. But when that defense is having trouble, that offense seems to drag their feet a little bit.
And this was a game for this defense to eat, and they didn't.
Exactly right. Exactly right. So, some concerns there. We'll see. We both picked the Browns.
Yeah.
And we picked the Vikings.
Yeah, we did both.
We both picked the Vikings as well from last time. Just a heads up there.
Titans, Colts.
Whoa.
I picked the Titans.
I picked the Colts.
You picked the Colts. This was a bloodbath. And this is kind of where I thought this was gonna go. This is kind of why I picked the Titans, because they got beat. And it was close, but they got beat last time by the Colts. And they were saying, this time, no shot. We're gonna beat you at the game you think you're good at. They ran the ball down their throat all game long. Derrick Henry had 3 touchdowns in the first half.
They just didn't want to hit him anymore. They just didn't want to hit him.
They were so tired.
They did not want to make the tackle anymore.
They didn't want to do
and I can't blame them.
No.
When you got a dude running with a head of steam like that, that big, you just don't want to hit that dude anymore. And oh my, it showed. It showed 229 yards of rushing. That is crazy.
Yep.
229 yards of rushing.
Most of that was in the first half.
Yeah, 221 yards through the air. That's a lot of yards to give up for a supposedly top 5 defense. That's not good.
And that's what this is. But this is the game plan you want to do as the Tennessee Titans. You want to run the ball 45 times a game, and only have Ryan Tannehill pass it 22 times. You don't need him to carry you to victory. But if the Colts, for some reason, the Titans defense was really holding them out. If the Colts were firing back kind of quick, that running game immediately sets up the passing game for Ryan Tannehill to put up points and put up points fast. Because he has good receivers, he's got a good O-line, and he has a good arm.
Yeah.
The running game set up really, really well if they needed to pass. They didn't end up having to use it.
Nope.
Which is scary for the next team who watches film.
Yeah.
Because now they're going to load the box with 9 men, 10 men, and have one guy following a receiver somewhere, and all of a sudden you have play action, guys running free. you're getting big play touchdowns.
Yeah.
Like they do.
And that's the thing, when you got an offense that's that effective, especially running, it opens up so many different outlets that you can address. And when you don't have to use those and you can save those for a later date, whoa, that's tough to game plan for. That is tough. But I'll say this, I think the Titans did exactly what they wanted to do, and the Colts let happen to them exactly what they didn't want to happen. I think that's exactly what happened this week. I think the Titans did exactly what they wanted to do, and the Colts let what happened to them exactly what they were not trying to let happen, which is get the ball jammed down their throat all day.
And it really shows the character of defense when an offense like the Titans can come in and say, you know exactly what we're going to do.
Stop it.
Stop it.
And you can't.
They couldn't.
Yep.
They couldn't at all.
Yep. That's the beauty of Smash Mouth football. You take somebody's manhood when you play Smash Mouth football. That's the thing. We're going to run it. We're going to run it right here, actually. Load it up. Let's stop it.
Yeah.
And you can't.
Nope.
You can't. And that's a dangerous recipe for the Titans. Now, I want to see if they can continue to do that. Again, right? You'll see weeks where they thrash your team, and then you'll see another time where Derrick Henry just can't get the wheels going. Right? And in order to be effective, especially in the playoffs, right? You saw in the playoffs, they were effective because of why? King Henry. You gotta figure out a way to be consistent. You have to. You need that.
You have 3 teams in the NFL that are basically consistent week in and week out. You have the Chiefs, the Steelers, and the Saints. I would say those are probably the 3 most consistent teams as of right now. And then after that, you pretty much have about 10 to 12 teams that you could plug in that just go like this. Titans, Colts, Cardinals,
Bills,
Seahawks,
Raiders,
Bills,
Buccaneers,
Bucks. These are all teams that from one week to the next could either, the Rams could take you from beating the best team in the league or to losing to one of the worst. Browns, these are all teams that you could probably plug into that 4, 5, or 6 slot. And it just varies week to week to week to week to week. It just so depends on who's playing well at the right time. And it's going to be very interesting to see which team is playing well at the right time. I don't think it's... I'm going to be honest. Every time. I don't think it's going to be Steelers, Chiefs, or Saints that are really pushing for that Super Bowl at the end of the year. It's going to be one of those teams that we just mentioned that came from our lips that's going to be playing really, really well
at the right time.
At the perfect time.
We'll see.
And they're going to be the ones challenging those 3 teams at the top in a championship game.
Sure. But I'll say this too, as you know, we're both kind of students of the NFL. Talent wins games.
Sure.
Talent wins games. And you could be hot.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw last year. The Titans were as high as you could possibly be. And then they came up against the Chiefs and they lost.
Sure.
So it's one of those things where I'm with you, but I don't think it makes a difference. Not in the AFC. Nobody's beating Chiefs. Nobody. No. Trust. Nobody's beating Chiefs. Nobody. They're playing with the food at this point. It's house money. It's house money.
We'll see.
It's house money. It's done.
We'll see.
It's done. Well, let's go to Giants Bengals.
This one was kind of boring.
Both picked the Giants.
Yeah, we both picked the Giants because we both said the Giants are getting better every single week. The Bengals just lost Joe Burrow. Going to be hard for them to come back and kind of make something happen. And now the Giants just lost Daniel Jones. Not for as extended period of time. I think it's just a hamstring injury. It's probably going to nag him for the rest of the season. Probably going to miss next week because they want to let him sit on it. Let him relax a little bit. And they're going against the Seahawks, so they're not going to throw him to the Wolves. But the Bengals played about as well as we thought they would. Colt McCoy came in and was good enough.
Yeah.
They're going to get smacked by the Seahawks next week.
Most likely.
But this was what you expected to see from the Giants.
Absolutely.
It's a good sign.
Yep, absolutely. I would agree. And I think the big thing is what I realized, what I kind of already knew, but it's really kind of solidified it for me. The New York Giants live and die by Daniel Jones.
Yep.
If he's not there, you're not going to go too far. Mm-hmm. So they need him. And I think I underestimated how good he was for that team.
Yep.
He's the catalyst there, so they need him back as quick as possible. Because I believe they're still in the driver's seat in terms of winning.
Okay.
And so the East?
The NFC
East. I still think they're in the driver's seat for now.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, they're factually they're in the driver's seat.
And I think also just in terms of momentum, I think they're in the driver's seat as well.
Sure.
So we'll see. It's all going to live and die by Daniel Jones. So we're going to see.
Hopefully that momentum doesn't get cut because of Daniel Jones being out.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully he can come back healthy.
Shout outs to Wayne Gallman of the New York Giants, running back.
Oh yeah,
had a good game.
Had a day.
Over 100 yards rushing. He rushed the ball a lot. You got the specific stats on him?
Yeah, he went for 24 attempts, 94 yards, and 1 touchdown. He averaged 3.9 a carry, which will suffice.
Not
That's
bad.
Good enough.
Not bad. Good for one of your first big outings.
Yep, exactly right. Exactly right. That's good enough.
Good job on that one. Let's hop over to Chargers Bills. This one went about as expected. Justin Herbert put up a fight, but it just wasn't enough.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers just are depleted in terms of talent, and the Bills are they're just one of those top tier teams that's gonna beat down teams like the Chargers.
Again, a lot of turnovers. A lot of turnovers. The Bills lost 2 fumbles, and they both Buffalo and Chargers had an interception. That's not good.
Yeah.
4 total turnovers between 2 teams. That's not good. That's a lot of turnovers. And those turnovers happened, if you remember watching Red Zone, they all happened in the 4th quarter where it was big play time.
Yep.
That's when you needed to have a big play. You needed it. And Herbert had a bad interception in the 4th. Allen gave it right back with a bad interception. They gave it back to Justin Herbert. They went 4 and out or 3 and out. And then they fumbled. The Bills fumbled. Gave it back to him again. It's like you can't keep doing that.
No.
If you're supposed to be the powerhouse of the AFC East, you can't be doing that.
Sure.
Because you're going to be playing good teams, and if you give a good team 3 more opportunities than they should have had, you're most likely going to lose.
And I think the problem there is the Bills are getting a little too comfortable.
I would agree.
Because they're not used to this.
It doesn't feel like they have that dog in them like they did in the first 5 or 6 games of the season.
And they better get that back coming to the last,
I think
4 or 5
that
games.
to prove something is sort of dissipated in them a little bit. It just doesn't feel like they want it. It doesn't feel like they're aggressive like they were. It doesn't feel like that defense is lit on fire. They're coming for people. And I think they kind of got away from what works for them, which is play action, movement. Make it easy for Josh Allen to have those pre-snap reads. Keep him away from mistakes. Understand where blitzes are coming from. And then let's just make the easy play.
Yep.
Make the easy play, not the hard stuff. Just make the easy plays and let's just get it into the end zone.
And they need to run the ball more.
Yeah, they do.
I mean, Josh Allen, I don't count his rushes. They did run the ball 20 times, so I don't know if I should say more. But that running game is working well.
Yeah.
Lean into it a little more. You don't need to be so pressured to throw picks like Josh Allen did.
I mean, you had 150 yards between 2 running backs.
Right.
Devin Singletary averaged 7.5 yards a carry, and Zach Moss averaged 6.6 yards a carry. Use that.
Lean into it. Right.
That's darn near a first down every carry.
The fact that none of those running backs had any touchdowns is probably why this game was as close as it was.
Agreed.
Because when they got close, they didn't seal the deal with that running game. You know what I mean? There's nothing better than just pounding the ball into the end zone.
Absolutely.
You don't need to pass into the end zone all the time. So you found out how to use the running game finally. It's been 12 weeks. Good job, Bills. Utilize it.
Right.
Keep that going. Keep that moving. That'll help your defense a lot, and it'll help Josh Allen a lot too, like you said with that play.
It's a recipe, yep.
Let's hop over to Raiders, Falcons. We both picked the Bills, by the way.
Yep, both picked the Bills.
Raiders, Falcons. We both picked the Raiders on this one.
My
holy
goodness.
Smokes.
What happened? What happened?
The Raiders are collapsing.
Yeah, they are actually.
Same time last year, they were 6-4. Last week, they were 6-4. The Raiders ended their season 8-8 or 7-9. I can't remember which.
7-9.
Last year, 7-9.
I think so.
They lost every other game for the rest of the season except for one. They can't do that again this year, or John Gruden needs to be fired. You can't start seasons this quick and then fall apart towards the end of the season.
Well, I'll tell you what.
This is a collapse against a collapsing team.
Yeah, which is bad.
That's bad.
I'll tell you what. When you're the Las Vegas Raiders and you fumble 4 times and you lose all 4 fumbles and you have an interception, come on now. And one of those fumbles One of those fumbles went back for a touchdown, and I think a pick went back for a touchdown.
I think so.
So you just gave up 3 extra possessions. 2 of them went back for 14 points.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to win a game that way. And that's what I'm saying. This whole week it was sloppy football this week. Turnovers up the waz, dude.
The Raiders' defense is atrocious. They're not good. They have no pass rush.
Mm-hmm.
They can't get anything. They can't stop anything.
Nope.
Couldn't stop a fly on a wall with a fly swatter. Like, they have a serious defensive issue. And then the offense, like you said, was just a turnover machine. They couldn't do anything.
Right. It was that was an ugly game to watch. That was an ugly game to watch. And I was just sitting there looking at the Raiders. Y'all better sound the alarms. That ship might be sinking too. That ship might be sinking.
Get yourselves into gear before it's too late.
Yeah, because you got about one more. If you get one more bad loss, I think it's over.
Next week's a must win.
Yep, I would completely agree.
Well, let's hop over to 49ers Rams. This one.
Talk about another epic collapse.
The Rams. What is happening with the Rams? 1 week they're the 4th best team in the league, and the next week they barely look like a playoff team. The Niners took them over, defensively and offensively. Deebo Samuel was back.
Oh,
Aaron Donald, you know who he is now.
Oh my goodness, dude.
You know who he is now.
And I'll tell you again, turnovers. When you're the Rams and you have 2 fumbles lost and 2 interceptions, that's not going to do you any good.
And it's one thing because, like, when I think about which turnover is worse, an interception or a fumble?
Depends on field position.
I say a fumble is worse 9 times out of 10. Because wherever you were, now it's going the other way.
Yeah.
Good luck. Because you immediately flip the field. Interceptions, all right, you threw it deep. It's basically like a big punt on 2nd or 3rd down, so whatever. But a fumble is just like, it's so preventable.
And it's demoralizing,
and
too,
it's so demoralizing, right, that a fumble, it just feels so different.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these teams that we're talking about getting these losses, you say it every time, fumbles, 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 fumbles.
Yeah.
Hold on to the football.
I mean, look, there was, let's see, 7 turnovers total between these 2 teams. That is awful football.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll say this. Credit to the Chargers. Credit to the Rams for only losing by 3. They should have lost by 20.
Yep.
So the fact that they almost won this game and they gave the ball up 4 times, my goodness, bro, tighten it up.
The Niners,
ball security.
The Niners are starting to get healthy.
Yeah, and they're looking scary, kind of.
They're getting their players back, and they're looking kind of scary. Yeah. Granted, they still don't have their 2 best players, Jimmy G and George Kittle, but Deebo Samuel's scary.
Is Bosa back?
Bosa's not back either.
I'll tell you what. Watch out for San Francisco. They might make the playoffs.
Minnesota and San Fran.
They might make the playoffs. You can take that to the bank. They might make the playoffs.
Because at the end of the day, one of the teams in the playoff picture right now is going to collapse.
Yep.
And it's looking like it might be the Rams.
It might be. It might be.
They're very iffy 1 week, next week.
Very.
I don't know.
Turnovers. You got it. Ball security.
Mm-hmm.
You turn the ball over 4 times, you're not going to win a game.
Yep. Let's hop over to Chiefs Bucks. This went about as expected, in my eyes.
Goodness. We both picked the Chiefs.
No, we both picked the Chiefs. Yeah, the Chiefs. Oh, we both picked the Rams in the other one,
yep.
by the way, too, which is the Chiefs are the best team in football right now.
Agreed.
And they're one of those consistency powerhouses. Yep. Talent across every single position on the field. How do you stop it? Can you stop it,
well,
or do you just try to slow it down?
You stop it by double covering the best player and stop going single high the whole first half and letting the dude go for 202 yards and 2 touchdowns. Todd Bowles, why are you waiting so long to go into double coverage?
Yep.
They go into double coverage, he has 30 yards the rest of the game.
Yep.
Why did you wait till the damage was way past done to go into double coverage? Double cover Travis Kelce, double cover Tyreek Hill. That's what they did the second half, and they were getting 3 and outs. They slowed down that attack. Why did you wait so long? And one more thing real quick. I don't think we need to talk about the game. You hit on all the points.
Yep.
There's something seriously wrong with the Buccaneers, and I think I know what it is.
Hit me.
I think Bruce Arians is not as good a coach as people think he is. Okay. I think he has too big of an ego.
Sure.
And he doesn't want to turn the reins over to Tom Brady. That's not his offense. Tom Brady's offense he's the best quarterback of all time at pre-snap reads. How do you do pre-snap reads? Pre-snap motion, play action. It's backyard football. All right, you're gonna run a post, you're gonna run a slant, you're gonna run a fly. They go up to the ball, everybody just stands still. Now you can completely disguise the defense. Mm-hmm. Tom Brady's making uncharacteristic mistakes because number one, I think he needs to play better, and number two, he has no motion.
Yep.
They ran 7 play action plays the whole game. The Kansas City Chiefs had 17 play action plays in the first half. Mm-hmm. I mean, you look at what the recipe for success is in the NFL: play action, pre-snap motion, doing things to make the defense reveal to them what they are going to do. Mm-hmm. You have to follow a receiver where they move. You can't just disguise it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. Bruce Arians, this whole no risk, no biscuit thing, could it work? Sure. But you do not have a quarterback that plays that way. Mm-hmm. Let this guy play the way he needs to play to win you a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Drop your ego. You're not that good of a coach. Let's just be real. Where's your Super Bowl ring? If you're that good, where's your Super Bowl ring? You didn't do anything with the Cardinals. You didn't do anything with the Bucks up until last year, and even then you did nothing.
I think you got one as an assistant with the Steelers.
That don't count, bro. You're riding coattails. But my point is this. It's you have a Ferrari.
Yep.
Stop taking it on the back road. Mm-hmm. Get it on the A1A. Get it on the highway. Let it do what it's supposed to do. Stop trying to take a Ferrari off-road. Pre-snap motion. Let Tom Brady make his reads. Let him call audibles that will actually work based off the defense. You see Tom Brady call all these audibles into the defense. Mm-hmm. Why? Because he can't read it. They just stand still, the defense, and then last second they do what they're supposed to do. Mm-hmm. So now it's all up to chance. Yep. Those pre-snap reads will help the line, will help the wide receivers, so Mike Evans knows he's the hot route. Mm-hmm. So instead of running into the linebacker that's covering him on a safety blitz, he runs his hot route, does a wheel, turns around, and is able to catch the ball, and that's not an interception now. It's stuff like that. That's what doesn't get you a Super Bowl. That's what will kill a season.
Yep.
Why? It's not rocket science.
The Bucks
I'm a regular
hype, bro.
No, it's just because it's like they should be the best team in football.
Yeah, on paper.
Top to bottom, they're the best team in football. They just something is wrong. Mm-hmm. Something is wrong, and I know I tore up Tom Brady last week, and he still needs to play better. He still didn't play that well. He missed some open guys, but there's something wrong internally somewhere else.
Sure.
And I think the coaching is part of it.
Yeah, I just some few notes. I agree with you. Bruce Arians needs to shut his mouth.
Yeah, why is it every week? Why is he throwing Tom Brady in the bus? Shut up.
He wants to be the superstar of that team.
Shut up. Yeah, you're not.
You want to be the superstar? Put on some shoulder pads.
Exactly right. Yeah, let's go play and see.
2, they're not good fits. Bruce Arians wants to do his thing. Tom Brady wants to do his thing. But Tom Brady has to do the Bruce Arians thing, and it doesn't work. 3, the Bucks. The Chiefs are what the Bucks wish they were. A high-flying offense that can move the ball at will.
That's so true.
It's what the Bucks want to be, and they can't for some reason.
Yep.
And I think I agree with you. It is coaching. Let's hop over to Bears, Packers. We both picked the Packers, and the Packers succeeded.
Aaron Rodgers. We both picked. Did we say the Chiefs? We both picked the Chiefs. Okay, cool. Just want to make sure.
We both picked the Packers.
Yep.
We both picked the Packers on this one. This one about as well as we thought it would.
I'll say this, and I don't think I need to say much else.
No.
That Bear ship, raise the red flag. That ship is sinking fast.
I think it's sunk.
I think they got about 6 inches left to ship outside the water, and that's about it. I think other than that, it's over.
The sails poking out of the water.
The captain is drowned. All the crewmen have drowned. There's no more rescue.
Cargo.
There's no more rescue boats left to deploy. That thing is done. But yeah, I think the Bears they're over. They're done.
Because
they're done.
You look at 3 teams in the NFC, right? You look at the Bears, you look at the Niners, you look at the Vikings.
Yes.
Who's hot? Who's falling off? The Vikings are hot.
The Niners are starting to pick up some steam. Yep.
And the Bears are, like you said, sinking.
Oof.
So you have to look at what kind of ship you're on right now, because it could be at the same length. Like if you're in a race, you can be at the same spot, but if one ship is sinking and one ship's floating along like there's nobody's business, check back next week.
Yeah.
and you'll see who's actually ahead.
Yep, exactly right.
Bears, they're 5-6. They should be like 2-10.
Honestly, they really
should be like 2-10.
Yep.
They're not a good football team.
No, they're
and
not.
this is, remember a few weeks ago I said, all right. Actually, in the beginning of the season, I said if the Bears make the playoffs, put some clown makeup on my face.
Yeah, not gonna happen this year. I don't think.
Put
it's
that
happen
in the
this year.
software way. You could resell that package you bought.
Yeah.
Let's hop over to Seahawks Eagles. This one was 23-17 Seahawks. We both picked the Seahawks.
It was kind of ugly, though, wasn't it?
It was ugly, but I will say this: the Seahawks played well in the spots that they needed to play well.
Yep.
Right? So the Eagles' defense is not a bad defense. They're a good defense.
That's not bad.
They're around top half of the league.
They had 3 personal fouls in the first quarter. They were flying around. They were trying to kill somebody.
Right. And sometimes as a defensive coordinator, you kind of like to see
Let it go.
in a way.
You let that
Especially
go.
if it's early in the game, you like to see that.
You let that go. Set the tone.
Right, exactly.
Set the tone.
But the Seahawks, who usually play well on offense and do poor on defense, had a defensive wake-up call in this game, which is what we've kind of been talking about, trying to find them and where they're going to get it. Granted, the Eagles are not a great offense.
And that's my thing, right?
But this defense showed up when it needed to, right? So in the past, I got the stat from Colin Coward. Thank you, Colin. In the past 4 weeks, the Seahawks lead the league in sacks with 19 in 4 weeks. In this game, they put together
6.
5 or 6, right?
6. By the way, Carson Wentz, God bless you, man, because you have 46 sacks in the season. I don't know how you're still standing upright.
Yeah, bro.
I'll just say that. And I'll say the big thing here. One thing that made me kind of nervous in terms of that Seattle offense, they were 20% on third down conversion.
Yeah, that's a problem.
That's rough.
You need to get that working.
That's
because
rough.
They finally got their running back, Chris Carson.
Yep. And he made his presence known.
And he did, right.
I mean, he only had 41 yards, but he got a nice, strong touchdown there. And he ran for 5.1.
I don't know why you're not handing him the ball more,
Yeah.
because you need to lean into your playmakers. Chris Carson, playmaker.
Yep.
Tyler Lockett, playmaker. DK Metcalf, playmaker. Just like you want to get DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett and Russell Wilson the ball, you got to get Chris Carson the ball.
That boy DK, he's a monster.
He is. Chris Carson can work if you give him the workload.
Yep.
So make sure you give him that workload. Make sure he's able to kind of push forward. But I think this game for the Seahawks was more about their defense than it was their offense. And if their defense can play like this on a consistent basis, and like they have been the past 4 weeks, where they've been really rolling, watch out for the Seahawks.
For sure. I'll say this. I think that offense needs to play better when the defense gives them opportunities like
I
that.
agree.
I think the one thing that they failed on yesterday was they were not opportunistic enough and capitalized on the opportunities that defense provided them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and granted, that Philadelphia offense is terrible.
Yep.
Absolutely awful. But a bad offense against a decent defense, you got to win that battle, and they did.
Yep.
I'll say this: DK Metcalf is a problem. Leads the league in reception yards, over 1,000.
Mm-hmm.
He went for 10 receptions, 177 yards on 13 total targets.
He had.
That's a ridiculous.
I venture to
catch
guess he had over 70% of their yardage.
Yeah.
Because total yardage they had around 270. You said he had 170.
He had 177 in the air alone.
Yeah, about over 60 or 70%.
That's ridiculous. That's not. I'll say this though. That's not necessarily good. It works for this game.
Yes.
But that can't be a recipe for success.
You got to diversify your portfolio.
Yep, exactly.
You got to get the ball to more receivers. You got to hand the ball off to your star running back who's finally back. And I know they probably wanted to get him slowly
He came off an
back.
injury too.
Right. They want to get him slowly back in. Not worried about how many points the Seahawks put up.
I'm not either. It was enough.
It was enough, and the defense played well.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
I'm still not on board with the Seahawks yet. Again, that defense is what concerns me.
They're one of those teams in the top who's like, sometimes they're good, sometimes they're not.
Yep.
And we'll see who gets hot.
But if that defense can continue to produce like they have been, I like it. No buys?
We missed the Ravens-Steelers because they did not play. They were supposed to play tonight, Tuesday night, but they are going to play tomorrow, Wednesday night. Do you want to? I mean, we picked this game last week. We said
they leave it.
We're gonna pick the Steelers.
Yeah, still got Steelers.
We'll talk about it next week
when
we go through Week 13. We'll just do 2 Steelers games and 2 Ravens games, I guess.
Yeah, no problem.
We'll just kind of make it work.
Yep. That was it.
That's pretty much it.
Alrighty, y'all. Y'all got it here first. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. And we will see you guys on Thursday. But until next time, we'll see y'all. Later.